Hi, my name is Mark Monlux, and you've joined us for another episode of Epic Sketch Time. I live in Tacoma, Washington. I'm a freelance illustrator. I like to draw comic reviews. If you look online for the Comic Critic, you might be able to find some, but I suggest you just contact me for my emailing list, which should be down here in the directory. Gentlemen, introduce yourself. Bill, you go first.
Okay, hi, I'm Bill Morse. I'm a cartoonist and an illustrator working out of Seattle, Washington. I do a web comic called Rhapsodies, and recently I've been also working on getting my watercolor chops up to snuff by doing a whole lot of landscapes.
Hi, I'm Locke, or you can find me at Mad Monkey Love. That's either Instagram or Twitter or whatever, as long as you find Mad Monkey Love. I'm a, I guess, illustrator part-time, and currently I'm working with a Kickstarter program called Cauldron. And we just launched the first issue, and we're still running it. All right, that's pretty much it.
Hey, Locke, why don't you spell that out for people who want to...
Oh, yeah, so if you go, it's Cauldron. It's Cauldron. It's a, I guess, kind of like it's a homage to the old epic heavy metal kind of magazine comic style. And that's really what it is. We just launched the first issue on Kickstarter, and we're hoping to raise, all for the print costs and so forth. I'm not in the first issue, except I'm just doing pinups and commission for a reward. Then in the second issue, I have a 12-pager that I'm doing more like sci-fi fantasy kind of stuff. So yeah, it's going pretty good so far.
So I'll have to check that out later.
Yeah.
I was showing Bill, so I was working on a project inside Illustrator. James Stowe has been after me to get back into Illustrator and start using it as a drawing tool rather than Photoshop. And I was a vector guy for a long time, and he introduced me to this thing called the Blob tool, which I wasn't very familiar with before. It's this little tool right here on the menu. You click on that. You can set your preferences for how big you want your brush tip. In this case, I've set it for 9, but you can make it larger or smaller. 9 I'm actually finding pretty big for my taste because I like to work smaller. But for this example, I'm setting it for 9, and my variation is 9. Now what that's doing is it's making the smallest one a 1. The next smallest, the medium weight is 4.5, and the heaviest weight is 9. If I was to change that, you'll see that these sizes would change on the variation. Like it'd be 5 points down or 5 points up. But I want to have that full thick to thin. There are other things you can do, but once you have that set, you select your color, and now, depending on how light or heavy you push down on your brush tip, you can go from thick to thin. What's nice is this automatically creates it as an outline vector shape. And if you're working with the same color and you draw another line onto it, it automatically joins it up. And that was really useful when I did this.
Ooh, cool.
Thank you so much. Started working on this during the last Epic Sketch Time. You can see how that blob tool came in really handy when I was doing all these blood splatters.
Yeah.
It took me an hour to kind of working off blood splatters I found on the internet, just doing a quick, I didn't do it auto trace, I just used them as a template. So, and then we also talked about last time how you can use inside Illustrator a quick tool to select to create palettes of color. And after I chose my base color of this orange, it selected all the other colors for me, and the result is a real quick color selection.
Yeah, a real harmonized color.
Yeah, and Bill and I were talking earlier about this technique down here, And the way you do this is you, whatever your lettering is, you make an outline. From there, you select, put it on another layer, or at least I like to copy it, put on another layer, then give it an offset of so many points, or yeah, so many points, so that the intensity of the colors in the middle range, because what you then do is you do a Gossamer blur, and you know that when you do a Gossamer blur, it blurs from the outside to the center, and unless you extend out your center by doing an offset, you won't get that intensity of color right on the edge where you want it. It'll be weaker. I want it right on the edge here, and I wanted it to go to black. But first I wanted my red to go to, I wanted there to be more of an offset transition of black to red, and then a more intense red in the middle. So I did 2 layers of that rather than just one, and I really liked the effect that gave. Then I added the little blob tool to make little drippy lines over the top of it like it was an airbrush can, which, if you're familiar with the original poster, that's pretty close to the original lettering. If anyone's in the Tacoma area on the 3rd Friday of the month, the Blue Mouse Theater hosts Friday Night Frights, and this is going to be used for that print, for the promotional print that'll be sold at the event. And one of the reasons, at first, I wasn't going to have any of that blood splatter in the background, but when I had to include all these logos, the logos were really distracting, so I had to put some more focus back up here by adding some depth. And at first I thought of just using a mild red instead of the purple, but the purple worked to get more of that techno color pop going. Locke, I'm really curious about what you're working on. One of my favorite comic characters. Tell us more about this project.
This is I'm working on a commission. Somebody wanted a Swamp Thing, so I'm still, you know, the classic the Swamp Thing from the movie. Remember that movie, 1980?
I never actually.
Not only a fan of the movie, but I'm also a fan of the comic book. So
yeah.
There were 3 Swamp Things movies, if I recall properly.
There was also a television show.
With, I thought it was Lee Major. I'm trying to remember.
Oh God, it was not Lee Major.
I know, but you know, he had that physique that kind of looked like him, and then I'm trying to remember, but I remember the heroine. You know, and I just loved it. I just fell in love with it. Right.
Did any of you remember? Did any of you ever see the public service announcement he starred in?
Lee Majors, or the guy from Swamp Thing?
The Swamp Thing.
The guy from Swamp Thing.
Yeah, guy from Swamp Thing dressed as Swamp Thing. Yes.
I cannot say I've seen that. Was it like a crying Indian, Bill? Don't leave us.
No, essentially, it had Swamp Thing come out of the swamp and tell the 2 kids not to pollute and put out their fire.
That ought to freak somebody out.
Yeah, it's like a swamp. You could say, "Kids, I'm Swamp." It was really stupid.
Okay, so I'm looking at the Internet Movie Database. We have the 1982 Swamp Thing. We have the 1990 TV series. We have a new Swamp Thing series coming out next year.
Wow.
We also have, let's see, To Live Forever TV episode Swamp Thing. Oh, I guess that's the first one. I could have swore there was another Swamp Thing movie. I thought there were 2.
Oh,
I thought there were 2 too. Didn't Peter David do a novelization of the second one? And they did it, and they improved on the costume a lot, if I remember the article I was reading about it.
All I remember was reading the Alan Moore Swamp Thing.
That is what turned me into a DC fan.
Right.
That was, at the time, that was the best comic I'd ever read. And on interesting media, has anybody been following the latest Steven Universe?
I haven't watched any episodes of Steven Universe. A low-budget sequel entitled The Return of Swamp Thing was released in 1989.
Oh my God.
A low budget. But to answer your question as who played Swamp Thing?
Yeah.
Ray Weiss.
Ray, all right.
Oh my God, I can't believe it was Ray Weiss. That is too freaking weird. I'm just thinking of the dad on Twin Peaks now, and it's just, ugh. I remember that everyone was making a big how to do about Louise Jordan, doing something for money as Anton Arcane, and because he was the biggest star in that movie at that time. And Adrienne Barbeau? Oh, yeah. Was she in the Women of the Amazon Jungle? What was that? Oh, let's see. Let's go to her filmography. Oh, she's got quite the run. The Fog, Escape from New York, Cannonball Run, The Thing, Swamp Thing, Creep Show. Oh, that's right. She got eaten by the thing in the crate.
That's right.
Let's see. There we go. Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death. I remember it because it still stars Bill Maher. And it was a terrible movie. Oh my God, it was horrible. Let's see. Lots of horror movies here. Let's see. The most recent one is to be announced. Bring me the head of Lance Henriksen. Who's another B-movie star. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, she was in Argo. I'm guessing she was one of the people who read for the role. You know that scene where they had all the actors line up to do a fake reading? All the actors thought it was a real reading. I was so excited when I heard about the movie Argo. I fell for it just as much as the Iranians.
It's funny. Most of what I heard about it was it being people complaining about it on a web blog called Racebender.
So, Locke, why don't you show us your layers and stuff that you're working on? I want to see your work process.
Well, it's pretty straightforward. I don't really have a lot of layers. I originally started it as an orange sketch, and I kind of kept it because I kind of like the texture that I did on it. Then what I did was I duplicated it and just did a black, almost a complete black out of it, but it's maybe like 90% or something like that black. Then I literally painted a green, just a green texture of the shape of the character. Then from there, in which called Clip Studio, it's got this thing called Clip Layer Below, this little right here. what that allows me to do is it takes this layer as a reference layer and creates a new layer, so I can only paint within that space, right? So I can't paint outside. It's exactly the same thing in Photoshop. It's called lock transparency, right? So you can lock the transparency, but when you lock the transparency on a layer, it actually, you're painting on that layer, right? Here, it's using the reference layer from below. So it's like a mask. It's a quick mask, really, what that is. And basically, as I go along, I start adding the little masks because I'm trying to separate them. And as I separate them, I can play with the blending mode in the layer to give me the texture or give me the lighting that I need, right? So right now, I just got my main layer where, I'm just mixing green, like, green with a yellow, green with a brownish, a green with, a little bit more light. So I'm figuring that I'm going to put some sort of light source coming at this angle here, right? To give him that little moody, because, his chest, as you can see, I'll zoom out a little bit. So you can see that area, right? So that's my main kind of light section. So I'm just going to play on that and keep texturing. Then eventually I'm probably going to have to draw some sort of plants and weeds and all sorts of stuff on top of him just to blend all that layer in. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be a big file.
Do you have like a leaf paintbrush?
I tried, there's a lot of texture. There's a lot of texture brush that's available to me that I have. But again, it's one of those things where, there's all these textures I can download, flowers, vegetations and stuff like that, right? I'll try some of that just to give you an idea, but most likely I'm just going to play with light to give you like an inkling that kind of looks like a leaf. You know what I mean? That kind of looks like, but I wanted more of a wet look to it. So the plant's kind of dripping off of him. So I try not to use a lot of the texture brush. I try to create my own little, nuances using the brush itself. Like I'll use some sort of watercolor wash to give it a little scattered surface of some sort or something like that. But most of the time, I always stick with my regular round transparency brush because that way I'm used to pressing hard or pressing light, right? It's something I'm always using, and I'm always switching side by side. And sometimes you don't see me switch because this is kind of like my Cintiq that I have right here. So I got my shortcuts for changing the zoom, right? So those little things. But as I go along, I'm trying to figure it out, and trying to figure out how am I going to do this. I have an idea where the roots is going to be. Do I want these to be bark? Do I want to be, I'll cover up certain areas when I get like really close to where I want it, but I also want some detail that come out, kind of like some of the rib cage idea. I have to figure out how am I going to do a little bit of that where either twigs or leaf or something, just something sticking out of them, and then probably dripping too. I was thinking more like a rain kind of thing, but yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So been working it for a while, just trying to get, work day, then nighttime, trying to get some hours in a little bit here and there, but it's been a little crazy after the con, just chasing things. Yeah, weren't you at the con last week or something?
Let's see. Was that last weekend or the weekend before?
I'm trying to remember. I saw on your Facebook post.
I was at last weekend was a con in Utah, but I wasn't at that one. I was the weekend before that. I did a local convention called the Washington State Twin Geek Fest, and that was a really good convention for me. The attendance was thinner than I would have liked, but considering how much they grew, they basically increased their size 8-fold.
Wow.
It was a tremendous undertaking. And they I think they brought in way too many celebrities for autographs. They had like 7 or something.
Oof.
For their second show. For the first time they stretched out from a 1-day show to a 2-day show. They increased their size by 8%. They brought in the military. There were lots of military vehicles, helicopters. There were at least 6 bouncy tents because this is the fairground, so they could do that. And they also had they just pulled out the stops, and I think they might have overexpanded. And when that happens, sometimes you go into the hole.
Right.
I'm hoping that they're going to be around next year, but it's hard to say. Oh, I'm clicking on the wrong screen. So now I'm going into, this is my base print for the Return of the Evil Dead guy, and I'm going to move things around and get rid of the stupid crop because
You mean right?
Well, because I'm doing it locally. I always print this thing locally at the Minuteman Press because that way I can print off a bunch of them last minute.
Right.
And I don't have to worry about the shipping or anything. But I always send them off to this other place called Ready Comics, and I take out the logos, and this will be something that I'll sell later on in the year to other shows.
Yeah, make a great decal sticker.
You know what? Guess what I have right here? Let me pull it up. So this is going to be a 2x3-inch oval.
Right.
And I got rid of the blood splatter because just on the black by itself. So I sent that off to Sticker Mule almost immediately.
Well, if you push that your copyright info a little closer, Sticker Mule can do a die cut. You know that, right?
Oh yeah. But I also knew that they were going to be right on the oval, so I basically did an oval. And when they sent me the first proof, they had this automatically centered, and I said, because they had it first, they had to rotate it to the left. And then I just said, yeah, move it 2 nudges to the right, and we're good. And by that point, this was right on the die cut. I mean, right on the ellipse. But yeah, I just wanted to fit into an easy ellipse. I know that they can do custom cuts for you too, but I didn't want to bother with that. Just wanted to see how it would look. I ordered 100 of them. See how well that turns out. I think it came to with shipping, it'll be like $87.
Yeah. They're more pricey.
Pardon me?
I find them to be very pricey, but they're just such good quality. That's the only thing.
Yeah. Now, Travis, a friend of mine named Travis Bundy, he works for a company that does things like magnets and pins. And he was suggesting that I do this as a fridge magnet. And I'm thinking that would be fun. I might do this as a refrigerator magnet. I'm just trying to decide if I'm going to do the same size or cut it in a little closer, and maybe the part is with this hair. What do I do?
They'll cut around it. They'll cut around it.
That's a lot of fine detail to cut around to on a magnet. I mean, I also got that hollow hole punch there. I don't want that to be necessarily hollow. Maybe I might just fill that in.
Right.
So I'll talk to Travis about that. Maybe I'll just need to make that green line a little thicker, and talk to him about maybe the black is the raised part, and this color is a thinner part, and they just cut on the thinner part rather than on the thicker part. I think they can do that. Can you repeat that, Locke? You faded out.
Sorry. You look at my mic. You can actually sticker meal.
Give me a moment. I'm on a separate screen.
Yeah.
Say something.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
Yeah, though you have an echo. How's your volume?
No, the reason I wanted you to say something, Locke, was when you talk, your screen takes over on the.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I'm saying something right now. So, does that screen take over?
Should be.
Yeah. Well, for me, anyways, I use sticker mule. If you look closely, you can actually see the way they die cut around the edges and stuff like that too, right?
Yeah.
So you can see the edge there, the shapes and stuff. Like here, something like this too, right? The crossbone kind of thing.
Nice.
Right. I mean, the sticker turned out really well. I mean, you know, these are the 2 items. I'm trying to remember. There we go. These other ones here, right?
How big are your stickers? Are they about 3?
They're 2 by 3. They're about 2 by 3.
And how much do you sell them for?
I haven't. I've actually been using them as giveaways and thank yous for commissions or you know, somebody buying a bunch of prints or something like that, right?
I need to talk to Russ Richards about this. Oh my God, your kerning is terrible. Look at that space on love, the L and the O. Oh man.
Yeah, it's close. I just drew it real quick. Yeah. I just want it close and snug, right? Like even that, right?
I mean,
right there, right?
I mean,
just looking for
in the letters.
Oh no. I just try to get as close as I can. I don't really care for that. I was just getting something out because Sticker Mule, you know, they have those. You got a few days to, you know, buy a pack of 50 for $10 or something like that.
Oh, really? They do offers like that, huh?
Oh yeah, I see them come in, and I'm sure I'm just hitting the buy, right? And then sometimes like, oh, I need a sticker real quick, so I'm just like, okay, just bend a couple things here and there, and just try to get as close as I can, and they do the rest, right? So.
Well, they don't kern it.
No, they don't kern the letters, but I'm just looking for it, right? I'm just looking for it, because most of these shapes are, you know, whatever I stick on there, and that's it, right? I don't really care.
Okay.
My first run.
Hey, they look great. They look really good.
Yeah, I mean the color reproduction was just fantastic. Wasn't expecting it to turn out this well, right? So.
Yeah, I have Stowe also uses Sticker Mule, and I've been very, you know, there's nothing like a good sample to sell your press work.
Yeah, it's the only issue is I'm in Canada and I pay through the nose for it. It's almost a 30% markup.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember living in California and all that stuff. It was dirt cheap. I can get as many as I want, but here it's just really pricey, right? So. You have to consider the conversion rate too, right? Whatever you get, you know, I'm paying $1.30 for $1 US down there, right? So
that's harsh.
Yeah. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Pumpkin.
Good night, Pumpkin.
Oh, I forgot. I was doing a show, and you guys know Dan Day?
I know a Stan Day, but I don't know a Dan Day.
Yeah, he's. I didn't know he was from Canada. Dan Day he created these back in the days. Remember Dungeon magazine before Dungeon and Dragon?
Oh yeah,
gorgeous, like, you know, D&D role-playing kind of covers back then when they did everything all, you know, on these large boards, and they would have to, you know, send it into the place. He's he did a lot of comics for DC and Marvel and all that stuff. I was doing a show and I'm just sitting next to him, and I wasn't sure what kind of table and all that stuff. And so I sat next to him for the stuff. Then and I saw this one print, and I'm like, oh my God, that looks so familiar, right? And I'm like, I've seen that somewhere. And goes, right? And it finally occurred to me that he was the artist for it. Picked it up.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was so much detail. I mean, the camera that was there was pretty, but you know, he was the one that pioneered all the little the painting with the cutouts that you see. You know, like I don't know, it's hard to see in this blurry picture, but there's, you know, it was as if it was a map, and there's little cutouts, there's trap doors and pits and stuff like that. So it was really, I mean, it was just fantastic. $300. It was like one of those things where I was like, oh my God, I just can't believe I saw this in one of my dungeon magazines. You know, I remember it was so much detail in this thing. It was like 20 by 30, and you know, he signed it and the whole works, right? But yeah, he's from around here. I didn't know he was from Canada. So yeah, that's my little splurge.
So let's see. I'm trying to get my. I've messed up the settings now. I have to click around and get people to. It should be switching automatically from scene to scene, but I did something wrong here, and it's not switching from scene to scene. Well, wait a minute. Someone else talk.
Someone else talk here. Yes.
Oh, good. That worked. That did the trick.
Oh, okay. Guys done for the con, or are you doing any more, or?
I have a bunch of cons that I'm doing. Before I talk about that, I want to show you guys something. My friend Joe, his late wife was an art collector, and I've always admired this painting that's hung up in their hallway, and he sold it to me. Wait till you guys take a look at this. What do you think?
Oh my God.
This is not the coolest, or what?
Yeah, that looks very familiar. Is that some local guy, or?
He's a guy named Rick. I haven't done any research to see the value on this, but it's probably way more than what I paid Joe for it. He's trying to clear out a lot of paintings and stuff out of his house because he wants to downsize. And it was really his wife's art collection, not his art collection. But I showed this to my wife, and she says, it'll look great in your office. I also have a portrait of that my friend Sam Day did for me. It, too, has to find a place to live in my office. It's currently living in the sewing room.
Oh, I like Sam's stuff. It's...
Yeah, there was a time when Sam was short of money, and he called me up and said, Mark, I said, what, you need me to pay your phone bill again? He says, yes. You know, so when he was in dire straits, I would, you know, just toss some money at him. And we made an agreement that we would just total it all up. And we totaled it all up one year. And so he said, you know, I need to do a portrait for you finally. So, and he gave me well more than my money's worth. I mean, the portrait's huge. It's life size. It's me in a suit wearing a fez, but it's way upstairs, and I don't want to have to haul it down. Oh, you're twisting my arm. I'll go get it. I'll go.
Of course we are. Yeah, I gotta swing by his studio one of these days. I mean, he frequently has his studio open at one of the art walks in the summertime. In the wintertime, he's part of a chorus. Okay.
Oh yeah, he's gone. I'm slowly collecting art to decorate my wall in this.
I really should do more. I always have weird mixed feelings about
Right.
that because I mean, don't laugh, but I always find decorating with my own stuff mildly narcissistic,
Yeah.
and I don't really have that much. Well, admittedly, I fill most of my wall space with bookshelves. So
here's the portrait of me.
uh-huh.
My wife's not terribly keen on it because of the mouth. The thing was, I was talking to Sam the entire time, so he drew my mouth open. So.
Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like he's mocking you so slightly.
To have fun with it. I mean, look, I'm wearing a fez. This is not a certain portrait.
Hang that in the bathroom. That ought to freak the guests out.
You know, I'm thinking that might not be such a bad idea. I don't like what's hanging in the bathroom right now. It might just shock my wife.
That's reminding me of that anecdote that Daniel Day-Lewis told in Lincoln, where something about George Washington's picture in the bathroom of the British Embassy.
Anyway, this is a plug for Sam Day. If you're in the Seattle area, you want pet portraits or a portrait of you, or doing commissions, he'll do a wonderful paint job for you, and cartoon work too.
Mm-hmm. He also does weddings.
Oh yeah, he paints weddings live, if you can believe that. He'll go in, paint the background before people start showing up, and as people show up, he'll draw the reception live, and he charges by the foot, you know, because it has to be done that day.
The foot of his subject matter, or the canvas?
The canvas. Because,
okay.
You know, he only has 3, maybe 4 hours tops to do one of those paintings.
Mm-hmm.
The larger the painting, the harder he has to work.
Right.
Also, you know, he has to mail these things, but he's got it down. He will go to a town, either have the canvas ready for him there or stretch it the night before, or what have you, and then he'll have a wooden crate already pre-delivered for the painting to go inside, so that the couple, it can be then shipped directly to the couple, and there's enough space in there so that the painting will dry in or out. Sometimes he'll take the painting home and work on it if they give him a little bit more. But anyway, I thought you guys would enjoy seeing that. I enjoy looking at this. My wife, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't get our humor.
Okay, I think I got most of the flats done on this thing. Any thoughts?
Her feet are too dark.
Okay.
You have everything else darkening in the background, and she's so bright and light, and then suddenly her feet are dark. It doesn't make any sense visually. I think her feet should be at least as light as she is.
Okay. Here, let me see what I can do.
What do you think, Locke?
Just still looking at it. Let's see.
How's that?
Yeah.
I mean, I think once you add some shading in underneath where her skirt is, you can do that. But yeah, I would keep her relatively on the same plane.
Okay.
Yeah. Some shadows, some highlights, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As I said.
Go ahead.
As I said, this is the flats. Shading is my next thing.
Usually, I'm not really concerned with the flats. I usually just throw anything down, so that way I can have my separation first. That's normally what I do. Then I go from there, right?
Right. I do a flat, and then sometimes I'll do one darker color and then a light highlight, and that's usually enough to give anything good depth.
Right.
Yours has a lot of wonderful depth going on to it right now.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm talking to Locke.
Oh.
No, yours too, Bill. Yours.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm just trying to do textures with just enough subtlety. Then I'll add fine lines in there just to give out little details and stuff. But now I'm just gonna go in and do more green, more of this green yellow tint. It's more of a swamp green than anything else, so I start doing that next.
Gentlemen, it is almost 5:30, and I want to go and pick up my wife a little early, so I'm going to call it a day. If anyone would like to join us on Epic Sketch Time, please, there's a sign-up link in the clip below. If you are on Epic Sketch Time for more than 3 times, you get a permanent link with your website in the descriptions. I want to thank Bill Morse and Locke for coming. Locke, how do you pronounce your last name?
Nguyen.
Nguyen.
Yeah, like, the Wynn Casino.
Yeah. It's interesting. I always wonder how many syllables that has within how much the English syllabary is mangling it. So
well, you got to consider that the Nguyen is it's actually Vietnamese, but it's really French.
Yeah. Okay.
Vietnam was colonized by the French, so my name is actually Locke or Luke. But that's really what that is from. And Nguyen is just the way they enunciate it, and Nguyen, but it's mostly people call it Nguyen, like Wing.
Right.
That's pretty much those kind of thing, wing or win or something like that. I kind of grew up here. I don't really know the actual proper pronunciation, but this is what I go with.
I have a lot of people who think, oh, your name must be French. You must be Mr. Monlux.
That's right.
And that's okay, too. Anyway, this is Mark Monlux signing off. I'll see you guys all next week.
Have a good one.
Bye, man.